for your girl.
That's right, it's a podcast.
It's pop for your girl.
We're trying to go out.
Pop for your girl. It's pop for your girl. Hey, what's up, you guys? It is your girl, Wigochi Alice Lewis here, and welcome to Pod for Your Girl. Yes, we are back with another episode, and I am just happy to be here. Happy Monday, everybody. Y'all already know. If you are not new here, y'all already know that a new episode drops every Monday, and I'm just excited because, like I said, this is a year of consistency. Those of y'all that have been following the podcast, y'all know that the grind ain't been super pretty, but it's been consistent. Okay, can I get an amen? Can I get an amen? All right, you guys, and I am just excited to be living in that consistency. Okay, I'm excited to be living and doing this thing in real time, not for myself, not for the praises, not for the followers, but because this is a part of the process, and I'm excited to just be living in the process, in the moment, and to be serving you guys with this ministry of Pop for Your Girl. My last episode, I kind of went into it a little bit of, what ministry is and how, we all think we are called to do ministry in a certain way, shape, or form, but sometimes ministry just sometimes looks like showing up and serving people and being a light and allowing people to see God through you. And I'm just excited to be doing that on this platform of Pop for Your Girl. Okay, I just want y'all to know I don't take y'all lightly. I don't take it lightly just being here, showing up for you. I don't take it lightly, each and every person that listens to the podcast. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Now, for those of y'all that share the podcast, that's next level, okay? That's next level. So double thank you to you guys that share the podcast with a sister, with someone who needs to hear these words, because one thing I always used to say is we have the ability to go viral, yes, but we also have the ability to share encouragement, share life-changing stories, share life-changing moments with people that really need to hear it. So maybe you don't need to hear this episode, but somebody does, okay? And today, I'm just excited to be talking about what we're talking about. I'm excited in a different way, I want to say, because I feel like this topic, a lot of people has talked about this topic. A lot of people have talked about what's going on with the P. Diddy case and with Cassie and, all of the different things. I know she just testified last week. She was on the stand for, I think, 4 to 5 days on the stand testifying, okay? And I really, really want to talk about it because I watched somebody talk about what they saw when she was in the courtroom and when she was testifying and how it felt and the atmosphere and all these different things. And I really want to talk about it, not from just a perspective of just to talk about it, but from a perspective of understanding what this means for us as women of color, those of us that have gone through abuse. Also, I want to shed some light on it because I think a lot of times we don't really understand how abuse and how manipulation, how this affects our community, how it affects women of color overall. And so I want to shine some light there. I want you guys to actually tap in on today because I thank God for each and every person who has never had to experience domestic violence, abuse, or anything like that. I thank God for everybody that hasn't had to do that. But for those of y'all who have gone through it, a lot of women stay silent. They never say anything. They never discuss it. They never tell anyone about it. They never tell anyone the details of what they went through because, they feel like they won't be believed, or they feel like they, won't, people won't get it. People won't understand. People will say they're lying. I don't know. It's so many different, it's so many layers. And so, y'all know we're going to go ahead and dive dive into the episode, I just want to like prepare you guys and let y'all know that if you have been through any type of domestic violence or anything like that, this is, I just want to say, trigger warning. I want to let you know this may be triggering as we talk about it, but I promise you that at the end of it all, we're going to have our faith-filled segment, and we're going to, I'm going to not just talk about it, but I'm going to fill you guys back up. I want you guys to just stay with me for a little while, but I know when I was watching a couple of the videos, just kind of getting information about what was Cassie's testimony like what was she saying and stuff. And, I was triggered because I was in an abusive relationship early on in my life, in my teens, from my teens all the way up to my early 20s. And I was triggered. And so I want to warn you guys, if you're not ready to have this conversation or dive into it or shed some light on it or even heal from the things that you've gone through, this may be triggering. It may trigger you to heal. It may trigger you to cry. It may trigger you to have a panic attack. It may trigger you to, relive some of the things that you went through in your past. And so you can pause this right now. You can say a prayer. You can, talk to God about should you continue watching this. I don't want you to just watch it just for the views or anything like that. Or you could fast forward to the end to the faith-filled segment and just tune in from there because I am going to be filling up your cup for anyone who has gone through abuse, domestic violence, or anything that has hurt you in the past. We're going to dive into the faith-filled segment, and that's segment specifically is going to be geared towards you, your healing, your recovery, and it's just going to be a time for you to process everything that you went through as a woman of color, being silenced, not feeling like you have voice to say anything, or if you wasn't silenced, just living with the emotional, spiritual, physical abuse that you may have went through. And yes, so I'm just happy. I'm just happy to be here for you guys. I'm happy to do this episode. I'm happy to talk about this. I want to give Cassie Ventura the go girl for this episode. Cassie, I know it's a long shot that you may even see this video because you are pregnant. I know you're getting ready to go into labor, all those different things. But I just want to shout you out, girl. And I just want to say, go, girl. I want to say thank you for doing the hard thing. Can we just say thank you to her for doing the hard thing? For someone who went through abuse, physical abuse. We all saw the Cassie video where Diddy was, dragging her, hitting her. And as a woman, there was a point in time, I think, where she was like curled up, like in a fetal position. And that was hard to watch. It was hard to watch. I think it's hard when you go through something like that. But the other hard part is to actually speak up about it and to actually talk about it and to actually say, hey, this was wrong. Like back then when I was going through it, it seemed right. Like I didn't know any better. I think she got into a relationship with Diddy when she was 19. And I'm not going to go too much into the actual case. That's not what this video is about. This video is actually about healing. It's about shedding light on domestic violence when it comes to women of color. And so I want to stay there for a little bit because when we all saw that video, there were so the lawsuit happened before the video. I don't know if y'all remember that. Like Cassie came out and she filed a lawsuit against Diddy, and it was a $20 million lawsuit where she was accusing him of all of these things. And I guess within that lawsuit, that stirred some things up to the trial and what it is today. However, he was under investigation anyways. So there's that. Now with Cassie, the thing is, she went forward and filed the lawsuit. When she did that, a lot of people were saying, oh, she's lying. We don't believe her. Diddy even said he never did it, but he still settled with her. He still paid her, and there was no proof at the time when she filed the lawsuit, and she said her truth, she said her piece, she said what it was that happened to her, and a lot of people didn't believe her. I remember seeing videos, just people just trashing her, talking about her, saying they didn't believe her, right? And then later on down the line, the video comes out of him actually doing the things that she said he did. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, like now we believe her, And so I think this episode is more so about that. Like, how can we do better as a community with understanding, like, hey, like, when someone tells you something like, this individual hurt me, this individual did this to me, this individual did these things to me, and how can we do better as a community saying, just even if we don't know what to believe, can we take the time to listen? Can we take the time to hear? Can we take the time to actually live in their truth for a second? Because there's always two sides to every story, right? But can we take the time to actually hear somebody else's truth, right? I want to just shine some light on Cassie and who she is as an individual, because a lot of us know her as an artist. We know her as, the songs You and Me. Yeah, like, we know her as the different songs, right? And the hits that she had. However, she's somebody's daughter. She's somebody's wife. She's somebody's mom, right? Cassie Ventura, she's 37 years old. She's an African-American, Mexican, and Filipino woman of color. And she's truly our go-girl because, yes, she went through an abusive time in her life, but in this time, right now, 2025, she chose to not just give up, not just, say, I'm not going to testify, I'm not going to look my abuser in the face, but I'm going to actually take the stand and do the hard thing, okay? Say the hard things, relive the things that I went through in the past, and I'm going to not be silent, but I'm going to raise awareness that there may be, and so that there may be other women out there who are maybe going through the same exact thing that I went through. Now y'all get to hear what I went through, and now you don't have to go through that anymore. Now you don't have to sit in whatever you're sitting in. Now you can actually say to yourself, wow, this is why I felt wrong. This is why it feels wrong for me to be doing the things that I'm doing, living the way that I'm living, not feeling comfortable, not feeling like this is all that God has for me. Like, I remember when I was in an abusive relationship, from the age of 17 through 21, 22-ish years old. And there was so many things that I just didn't understand, y'all. And with Cassie, she was in her relationship from when she was 19 to about 29. They were in a relationship for 10 years. And when I hear Cassie's testimony, or when I, hear other people talking about her testimony, it sounds like she was just lost, y'all. She was lost. She was in a place where she didn't really understand what she was doing. She was still young and naive and easily manipulated. And so I think that we can't count out the fact that she was young. We can't count out the fact that she may have lost her sense of direction. We can't count out the fact that, she was listening to someone who had everything to gain and out of being in a relationship with her, and gain out of, manipulating her into the person that he wanted her to be. Okay. And so I want you guys to just really understand and put yourselves in a situation of, if someone was to ever to come to me, or if I was even in a situation like this myself, would I have reacted or did what and still stayed in it for 10 years and, held on to a love that wasn't really love, held on to a situation that wasn't really what it was in my mind. And I think with Cassie, she did that. She held on to something that she believed, even though what she believed wasn't what it was, even though what she believed wasn't truly what was really happening in her real life. It seems like, throughout the case, like I heard her say, like, where I heard people talk about, they asked Cassie, do you hate him? And she said, no, even to this day, like I still don't hate him, and I can understand that. And it goes to show that, even though we go through these things, we may go through these things as women of color, we may go through abusive relationships. You don't have to let hate live in your heart. You don't have to let the things that happen to you, define how you're going to treat people, define how you're going to walk throughout life, define how you're going to cultivate your own life, define how you're going to, receive people in your life. You don't have to let that be your case. And I think with Cassie, she was able to get up on that stand because she didn't hate him. She was able to get up on that stand because she knew like it's bigger than this. It's bigger than what the relationship was. Now I understand I was wrong. Now I understand that wasn't a real relationship. That wasn't really what, I thought it was. And so she's able to get up and she's able to speak her truth and she's able to know now what she didn't know before, that the relationship was not what it seemed to be. And the reason why I say that is because there were text messages that were read in the court, and a lot of the texts she said that she wanted to stop doing certain things. And, she saw herself marrying him. She called herself Cassie Combs. And, she really wanted a real life, real love, real, relationship with him. And she thought that doing those things would open up that door to that. And she was wrong. She was wrong. And, so yeah, y'all, but nevertheless, I don't want to spend too much time there, but because I do want to go into talking more about domestic violence. But for Cassie, whether Diddy comes out being guilty with the racketeering charges and the, all of the things that the sex trafficking and all that, we want you to know that we see you, we hear you, we understand you, and we understand what you went through. Even the defense team, they're even saying it now that this is that was a case of domestic violence. This was a domestic violence case. This is not what it is. So they're even calling it what it is now. They're saying she did suffer domestic violence. She did go through domestic violence, but she wasn't trafficked. She wasn't this, she wasn't that. And so, whether or not he's guilty for all of the other things, we know that he is guilty for hurting you. We know that he is guilty for abusing you. And for that, we want you to know that we stand with you. Pod for Your Girl stands with you. We stand with every woman out there who is bold enough, brave enough, strong enough to speak their truth and speak their story. And, know that people may not believe you, but your truth nevertheless deserves to be heard. And so if you're going through something right now, you feel like no one is going to listen, no one is going to hear you, no one is going to, understand, just know that you're not alone. And I pray, it's our prayer here at Pod for Your Girl that someone, that you speak up and you say something, or you get out of that relationship, or you walk away and you do the hard thing on today, which is putting down that relationship and walking into something, better, way better for your life. And that is our Go Girl segment. Cassie, we say go girl. I know you are married now. You have kids. You have another one on the way. And I am going to transition to the Pat Your Weave segment on that note, because with Cassie, the thing is, like, I see a lot of my story in her. Like, not to the point where, I was trafficked or anything like that, but, going through an abusive relationship at a really young age. I was in an abusive relationship for 6 years. She was in an abusive relationship for 10 years. But she was able to find her way out. And on the other side, she got married. She has kids. She has a life that, is not attached to what she was. And for me, I can truly give God the glory. I could truly say God brought me out of my situation. I could truly say that. I don't know what brought Cassie out of her situation. I hope she shares that possibly, hopefully in the future. I know when she was in court, she did talk about therapy and having to relive some of those moments in therapy. So therapy does help. But I know for me, when I was in that abusive relationship, I resonate. We're moving it. We're in the Patch Your Weave segment, y'all. And so we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the stats, the details, what it looks like with women of color and what it compared to other women when we go through abusive relationships. We're going to talk about all that, but I just want to share this with y'all. Being so young, being in an abusive relationship and coming out of that might have been one of the hardest things that I ever had to do in my life. Okay, like no lie. It might have been one of the hardest things that I ever had to do in my life, because the thing is, like, when someone blacks your eye, it doesn't cause you to stop loving them. For some reason, when, somebody like kicks you, stomps you out, do whatever, drags you, it does not cause you to stop loving them whatsoever. Like I remember, there was a situation with me and my ex. We were inside of his house, and he got upset about something, and he just dragged me. He dragged me like all the way, like from upstairs, all the way down the steps, and like outside his house, dragged me down the steps out of his house, and like started kicking me and like left me literally on the grass. And in the middle of that, he was calling me all type of names, stupid, whatever. And like, when I saw the Cassie video, that, like, I relived that moment. That was the moment that it triggered in me. Like, it triggered that moment, seeing myself like on the ground, like being kicked, being dragged down like 2 layers of steps. Like, I don't want to say flights because it wasn't like a whole flight, but 2 like, layers of steps. And it just was like, that moment, I relived that moment in my mind, right? But I didn't tell anybody. I didn't talk about these things with people. I didn't really open up to my parents, to my sisters, to my siblings, to know anyone really. And I think it's like you live in this place of embarrassment. You live in this place of shame. You live in this place of like, why did I allow this individual to treat me like this? Why did I allow this individual to do these things to me? You live in this place of like, not knowing your self-worth, your self-value. And I believe all of these things are what Cassie was going through, like just living in this place of embarrassment. And, a beautiful girl, young, like, have your whole life ahead of you, but insecurity, self-esteem, not having enough self-esteem, not having the right self-value, knowing your worth. When you don't know those things, like, I can tell you, I did not know my self-worth. I did not know. I did not know who I was. I did not know, anything back then. Like, I just thought, like, this is the best that I'm going to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the best that, I thought I was going to marry this guy. I was going to be with this guy for the rest of my life. Like, we were, he said it. He told me that, like, we're going to get married, we're going to be together forever, and I believe that. I literally, truly, in my heart, believed like that was my person. We were going to be together forever. Okay. And, those type of things, when you start to think like that, when you start to mentally think in your mind, like, yes, like this is your person, you're going to be together forever. All you want to do is please that individual so that that individual, continues to be with you, so that that individual continues to, want to love you and be there for you, and and so another crazy thing that I did, I remember I had a job, my first job at the mall, and this is not a like abuse or anything like that, but I just want to show you guys how much I wanted to please this guy, that like I would literally take money out of the register, and he would come and get something from the store, and he would act like he's paying me, and then I would give him back extra change, y'all. So it'd be like $50, sometimes $100 more than what he gave me. Like he would give me like a $10 bill, and I would give him like $100 or $50 for his change. And that was the type of mindset that I had. I just wanted to do anything to please this individual, whether it's committing crimes. Like I remember I got caught shoplifting for this individual because he wanted some earrings. And so I was like, I'm just going to take these earrings off the thing. And I took them off the things. But he would say he didn't force me to do that. Like, with the whole Cassie case, like he didn't force me to do that. He didn't hold a gun to my head and say, oh, you're going to have to do it. But when you have gone through things like, you've been punched in the face before, you've been, choked out before, you've been stomped out before, you've been dragged before, when you've been there, all of that, it is coercion. It messes with your mind, and it makes you feel like, if I want to stay in this, if I, want to be with this individual, and if I want to make them happy, if I want to keep them happy, then I have to do these things. And so, you start to live your life, and you start to do things from a place of, making an individual happy versus, are you happy? Are you in a real place of joy? If this person leaves, I believe you will be sad, but ultimately you will be more happier than you were in your life, because now you won't be controlled. Now you won't be feeling like you have to keep this other person happy. And so, maybe someone out there is going through a situation where you feel like you can't be yourself, or you have to do things to make another individual happy out of fear that they'll stop loving you, out of fear that they may, hurt you, out of fear that you may, get into an altercation with them. Whatever the case may be, that fear that's causing you to continuously do things that's outside of your character, to continuously do things that you don't want to do, to continuously do things that you would never do if you weren't in that relationship. And I think that was what Cassie went through, like doing things that she didn't necessarily want to do. And this is helping to shine some light for people that you may be going through some things where you really don't want to talk about it, or you don't want to tell anybody, or you just want to stay there. But I'm telling you, sis, get up and get out. Talk to somebody about it. Find your peace, find your happiness, find your joy. Because if someone really loved you, they really want to be with you, they really want to be in a relationship with you, they will not have you doing things that you really don't want to do. That's just 100. I didn't know that back then. I did not know that back then. And so I did things out of, I did things out of my own willingness, okay? Because like I said, I wasn't being forced, but in a sense, like I knew if I did not keep doing those things, there would be no relationship. And so, what do you do? What do you do in those type of situations where abuse is present, yet you feel like you're stuck and you can't get out, right? And so I want to talk about this a little bit more. So let's talk about the facts really quick. And we're still in the Petra Weave segment. So Cassie's story reveals bigger truths about power, abuse, and control. So number one, let's talk about racketeering and trafficking, okay? Whew. So racketeering and trafficking in entertainment does happen. It may be happening way more than we think. We're just seeing this case, but in actuality, it may be happening way more than we actually think. Many women are manipulated and trafficked under coercion and psychological control by public figures. And so that's what I'm talking about. Like, coercion is crazy, y'all. And psychological control is even crazier, you guys. So if somebody can like really mess with your psyche, if somebody can really mess with your mind and make you think like you're not, you don't know what you're talking about. If someone can really mess with your mind and make you feel like you don't know what you're feeling, you don't know what you're even seeing, right? Like, oh, I walked in and I saw you sleeping with somebody else. No, you didn't really see that. That was not what you saw. You saw me jump on top of her and I was giving her the Heimlich maneuver you saw me, I was trying to prevent her from doing something else. Like, psychological control will make you think and believe that you are seeing something that you never, like, you believe something that you saw it with your own two eyes, okay? Like, you feel this with your own heart. You feel like this person does not really love you. But if they can just get your mind to believe that what you're feeling, what you're believing, what you're seeing is not real, then they can control how you move, how you do things, because now they have control over what you deem is even wrong or right. They have control over, they know like they could just tell you anything and you're going to believe it. Or they could just tell you anything and you're going to do it. Or they could tell you this is how you get from, if you at the bottom, this is how you get to the top, right? So at the end of the day, they can control your life based off of, what you believe psychologically wise. And number two, women of color, Black women, experience domestic violence with an intimate partner at rates of 30 to 50% higher than white women. Yes, y'all, I said it. Women of color, we experience domestic violence at a way higher rate, at a rate of 30 to 50% more than white women. That's crazy, y'all. That's crazy. Remember, we're not talking about, this is not no 2.5% more than white women. This is not no 5% more than white women. This is 30 to 50%. 20 would have even been better. But 30 to 50% rate higher than white women. That is real statistics, you guys. This is what's truly going on. Number three, why is it hard to leave? There is a cultural stigma, financial dependence, spiritual manipulation, and fear of not being believed that makes it harder for women of color to escape abusive relationships. Yes, y'all, I said it. There are cultural stigmas, things that hinder women of color from leaving an abusive relationship. Whereas, white women, they don't have these things that hold them back. When they say they've been abused, people may likely believe them more than a woman of color. I hate to say that. But if Cassie was white, all right, I'm going to just leave that there, because people don't like to play that if game. People don't like to say this, but it's true. This is real, y'all. This is really real, where women of color, we actually go through the harder things when it comes to domestic violence, but we don't really like to talk about that. We really barely even like to talk about abuse. We rarely even like to talk about these things in our community. And so I really want you guys to understand the only way we can break stereotypes, which y'all know the Patcho Weave segment is all about this. The only way we can break stereotypes, I heard in the Cassie case where when she was testifying, one thing that they were trying to say is, how was your income? Where were y'all living? Didn't y'all go back and live with your parents for a time? And they were trying to make it seem like, because she didn't really have any money or because of her financial situation, that's why she was coming forth with everything that had happened in her relationship with Diddy. And they had started trying to paint that picture. And I want you guys to understand that, yes, like financial dependency is one of the reasons why women don't come out of abusive relationships, because you may be depending on that man for money. And, just to try to paint that picture of like, oh, she's only saying something now because she wanted the lawsuit or she wanted the money from him and da 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 da. They know that's an easy route to go. Okay. Anyway, I'm not trying to be biased, so I'm not going to put all of my opinions into it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go into the faith-filled segment, you guys. And this is a segment where I really, really wanted to just kind of like take some time and discuss and talk about, from a biblical perspective, how God helps us recover out whenever you're in a domestic violence situation, or in a situation where you may have experienced abuse, where you may have experienced hurt on another level, or you may have experienced things that are really hard for you to overcome. So, number one, I already opened up to y'all about my relationship, my past experiences, what I went through in my abusive relationship. And here are a couple of scriptures that really helped me to overcome and regain my confidence, because a lot of times when you go through these things, your confidence gets knocked down. But I want to give y'all this scripture if you're trying to rebuild. Psalms 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Y'all, the Lord knows what you're going through. He knows the hurt that you've been through. He knows why you haven't been in a relationship for all of these years. He understands that the abuse may have been too hard for you to even recover by yourself. He knows that broken heart that was left inside of you because of what you went through. He said, and because he knows that, he is saying that he is close to you. He is right there with you. He's right there by your side. He is close to the brokenhearted, and he saves those that are crushed in spirit. If you feel crushed, if you felt crushed, if you went through that hard time in your life where you felt crushed, where you felt like you weren't going to make it out, you weren't going to be able to, recover. No one else is going to ever want you because of what you've been through. I know I felt like that. Who is going to want to be with me? Who else is ever going to want to love me? Who can ever, not look at my past and see who I was in the past, but really look at me for where I'm at right now. Like y'all, I was crushed. And when I had this scripture handed to me, I remember feeling encouraged, feeling like, wow, this isn't going to be my forever place. Yeah, I'm crushed right now, but this is not going to be my forever place, y'all. Next scripture that I love and I want to give you guys is Romans 12:2. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Listen, that right there, transforming your mind, because like I said, you went through a place, or you may have went through a place of where that physical abuse was very hard on your mind, very hard on, on what you did and how you acted and who you was. Your personality was at stake because you probably wasn't even acting like yourself. People knew who you were, but they didn't really know you, right? And one thing for me is when I started to understand who I was. I remember when I went through a phase of, I just chopped off all of my hair. That was one thing that I did for myself. I chopped off all of my hair, and I just started to renew my mind with scripture. I started to renew my mind with praise. I started to renew my mind with seeking after God, seeking his heart, seeking his face, y'all. I renewed my mind with worship, y'all. And in that season of my life, I remember it didn't take long. It didn't take long, y'all, from where I remember not feeling confident, feeling I didn't even know how to pray. I didn't even know how to open up my mouth and pray. But when I started to renew my mind, a month went by, 2 months went by, 3 months went by, and I went into from a place of not even knowing how to pray to now I can open up my mouth and be confident and know that God is going to fill it, y'all. So that came with renewing my mind. The next scripture I want to give y'all is Isaiah 61:3. To give them beauty for ashes and oil of joy for mourning. Listen, God will give you beauty for ashes. He really will. Oh my God. Just like Cassie, she had a past life. She had a life where she may have been ashamed of. She may not have been proud of. She did some things that she wasn't proud of. But God gave her beauty for ashes. She has a wonderful husband. She has kids. She's married. He turned her life around. The same thing with me, y'all. I remember not feeling like no one is going to want to be with me. But like I said, I started to chase after God. I started to seek after God. I decided to be celibate. I went celibate for 4 years before I met my husband. 4 years of celibacy, 4 years of just, seeking after God, coming out of an abusive relationship, promising not to have sex, not to, run after crazy little relationships and all people that's going to play games. I was strictly on fire for God. And what he did was he rewarded that, and he gave me beauty for ashes. And I know a lot of people like to say, like, God, he's not a rewarder. He won't reward you. He won't do it. But the word tells us he will give you beauty for your ashes. So if you lay down your ashes, it's not like he's saying, here's the prize for that. Your husband is the prize. No, but he's saying that old thing that you laid down for me, I'm going to replace that, and I'm going to give you beauty for that. And I actually wrote a book called The Road to Beauty, y'all, where I talk about that. It's a whole chapter dedicated talking about my abusive relationship, Beauty for Ashes. And it talks about how I laid down my relationship. I walked away from it because even when I came to Christ, I was still, trying to be in contact with the guy who I was in an abusive relationship for years. I was still trying to, be there for him and still try to talk to him, still trying to lead him to Christ. But God said, no, you got to lay that down. If I want him, I'll go get him. But that's not on you anymore. What's on you is to live for me. And I promised to dedicate my life to God and to live for him. And that's what I did. And so those of y'all who are trying to drag this man and save him and bring him to Christ and do all these things, I dare you to lay down your ashes today. I dare you to lay down that relationship today, whether he's physically abusive, spiritually abusive, manipulative, whether he's verbally abusive, whatever the case may be, lay it down. No abuse is too small. Verbal abuse is still abuse. Lay it down. Okay, if he is constantly putting you down, calling you out your name, cussing you out, saying negative things about you, that is verbal abuse, and you got to lay it down. And so I just want to encourage every woman recovering from an abusive past. I want to tell you today that God sees you. You may have moments where you want to go back. You may have moments where you relive something in your mind. You may have moments where you go back to that memory. You go back to that abuse. Something triggers you. Something hurts you. And now you find yourself in that space where you can't walk away or you can't let go. You may have been in this cycle repeatedly over and over again. You may have, gone through more than one abusive relationship, but let me tell you, it is not too big for God. God sees you. He 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 understands. He is with your broken heart. He is with you. And he is able to lead you out of that past and into a future that eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard, neither has it entered into the heart of man. What God has prepared for those that love him and those that that receive him into his heart. Listen. Lay it down today. Lay it down today. Walk with God and know that God is walking with you every step of the way. And you are not what happened to you. You're not what happened to you. That's not your identity. Listen, like I said, I wrote a whole book, but only a chapter was dedicated to that moment in my life. That whole book was not about my abusive relationship. So I am not what happened to me in my past. I'm not that person anymore. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a business owner. I have things that God is for me. I'm a minister. I'm a preacher. I'm a lover of all things pop for your girl. All women of color out there. I'm here to encourage you. That is who I am. That is who God called me to be. And I am not my past. Okay. And so I am so thankful for y'all watching this episode. Those of y'all that has seen the title and you didn't want to click on it, just know it ain't what y'all thought it was. I know y'all know it ain't what y'all thought it was. Help me share this episode. Help me share this with someone who really, really needs it, who needs to know what abuse is and that they aren't alone in their story, in their situation. All right. Cassie, go girl. Keep sharing your story. Don't let anyone silence you. For any woman of color out there dealing with the abusive relationship or abusive situation, I want you to know you don't have to be silent. Open up your mouth, speak up against it. If you know someone that's going through it, open up your mouth, speak up against it, encourage them to lay down their ashes today and allow God to refill you with the beauty that is already on the inside of you. All right. All right, you guys. I know this was a hard conversation. This was a hard episode for me to do, but I really felt led to do it. I felt like, I had to do this episode, especially knowing what I've been through in my past. And so I hope you guys found something out of this, even if you pop for your girl.
That's right. It's a podcast.
It's pop for your girl.
We got to go out.
Pop for your girl.